Hi everybody, good morning. It's Erin Scott here. We're doing an art channeling for your week ahead, and I'm recording this on Sunday morning, April 25th, 2021. So this is for the week starting Monday the 26th. So go ahead and tap into number 1, 2, or 3. Take a moment to actually really feel into it. Oftentimes, people will just feel into many things or many messages, but to get the most optimal inner guidance to come through you for what your theme of focus and growth and evolution is for this time frame, for this chapter, and in this case, we're looking at the 26th of April, that week, you really want to focus in, you know. So take a look at 1, 2, and 3. The numbers themselves, where your eye is tending to land, where your gut is telling you what the image itself looks like here, because there's different qualities to each of the numbers and where they're situated, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the reveal. If you need more time to select, please go ahead and pause the video and really feel into it. Okay, this is an important time frame. Before we do the reveal, let me just say that tomorrow, Monday, the 26th of April, we have a Scorpio full moon that's a super moon. It has a lot of intrinsic activations naturally that are profound, they're deep. And every year we have a Scorpio full moon, and every year we go through a depth process where there can be things coming to light. I invite you to look at the part 1 and the part 2 of the astrology videos that I put out for this week, because there's a lot of potential for clarity, self-clarity, and ultimately for clarity about path. Okay, so I invite you to look at those videos. Now, let's do the reveal. Again, if you need more time, press pause. So let's take a look here. All right, beauties. So we're going to start with number 1. I'm not going to go ahead and activate my highlighter, okay? Sometimes I find it distracting, so I'm not going to pull it up right now, okay? So we're focusing here on number 1. If you selected number 1, there's a few things to talk about here. The first, I always pay attention to the way in which the imagery comes through, you know? So why this imagery, why this form first and this form second, etc. This was the first form that came through, this swinging motion, okay? Now, swing wasn't the clarity when the form was coming through. Swing ended up emerging very directly after this came through. But the image, because typically how I channel, how I, bring forward form is I situate my mind in a space of reception, So it's oriented to receive, and I allow it to receive. And so the first thing that was received was boom, 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 boom. That's the form. So the first form was this arced, progressed swinging here. Now, I haven't counted these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Interesting. All right, so there's these 5 kind of segments of swinging. The color came after, and we'll talk about the color in a minute. But it very clearly came. So as I sat, this was the form that came through, and then I sat. And clearly what came through was the image of a swing, okay? It was a blow up of a swing seat going back and forth, okay? So I drew out the swing set, okay? This is swinging back and forth. For those of you that selected number 1, there is a pattern of swinging. Now, this could be mental swinging. It could be that your mind is scattered. It's all over the place. It goes back and forth. It goes from past to future. It's reviewing past to project into the future. It could be swinging between situations or conditions. But what you have to understand, it's an aspect of self that is swinging. There's something here like a pendulum going back and forth, possibly with extremity. So you're needing to become clear this week, everybody, for those of you that selected number 1, about what it is that's swinging. If you have externalized conditions that are swinging back and forth, It's one thing, then it's another thing. It's this, it's that. It's drama, it's emotions, it's mentality, it's psychosis. What is it? Is it people in your environment? Is it your family, your work? What is it? It's all a reflection of you. So you're going to have to realize that. That's the potential for this particular moon. Very important, everybody. So there's something about you, a narrative, an energetic, a memory set within your consciousness that is swinging. It's oriented to swing. Oftentimes, people can swing in order to avoid pain. It's a fear mechanism, it's a response mechanism. It's trying to keep you safe. What you need to understand is that you're safe and you're here, you have the capability to make yourself safe. Okay, so there's some sort of a construct and a pattern, emotional, mental, where you're swinging. And you're swinging to avoid something. You're swinging to avoid groundedness. Something needs to be confronted. And we see what it is here. The third image that came was the boulder. This boulder is not moving. This boulder in the image is not moving, everybody. This boulder is huge. It's massive. It's right next to the swing set. And it's very fixed, is it not? It's massive. It's a huge stone boulder, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 feet in diameter. So this is a massive thing, and it's sitting right to your, if you're facing the swing, if you're facing us as we're watching this video, this is to your right. So there might be something in your left brain orientation. You're focusing on some sort of a detail, maybe making a mountain out of a molehill. We often do. Humans do that. Humans are funny little creatures. So we tend to make huge stories out of something that occurred. We make a lot of meaning out of it. So what are we making it mean? There's something huge here. For you, it feels like a pressure. That's, I think, what's starting to cause this reverberation for you this week. Go within. This particular Scorpio full moon is for you to get to some place of real clarity here. Go deep. There's nothing to be afraid of. Go within, confront the demons. All is well. We all have them. You're not different because you have demons, and you're not being punished because you've had wound signatures or wound experiences. All is well. You're okay. You're loved. You matter. It's your story is valuable. Learn from the story. Evolve it. Okay? But there's a big, heavy pressure here, and the pressure is creating some sort of response mechanism that must be attended to. The interesting thing is the sun setting was the next image that came through. A sun is setting. It wants to set. The sun wants to set. And what is it connected to? The coloration that came out in the swinging. The sun wants to set with regards to your response mechanism of back and forth. I'm not going to stand still. I'm not going to confront the demons. I'm not going to stand in my own fear. I'm too afraid, so I'm going to spin out of control. I'm going to look this way and that way and every way except for what needs to be looked at. Elementary school was the next image. In front of the setting sun, that which wants to set in your life, a chapter which wants to complete, elementary school came up. It's from your childhood. Is it bullying from your childhood? Is the elementary process here, the symbology of elementary school is talking about a chapter in your life when you were young. So something about your life then, something that got catalyzed. Keep in mind, all of you are born with a blueprint. You're born with it. So before you ever have any experiences with mother, with father, with childhood, with schoolmates when you were young, it was part and parcel to the energetic signature that you hold. So they're not to blame. Nobody really is to blame. You're not to blame. It is what it is. You hold a story. You're here to navigate the evolution of that story. There's something about your childhood, something that occurred, something that got catalyzed. The internal narrative within you, something when you were young, and this is normal. This is a very common human experience when we're about 5. but it happens at different ages. But often about 5, there's a catalytic experience that catalyzes a wound pattern into action where we receive it, quote unquote, where we see it, where it happens to us. Okay, so maybe you need to look back when you were 5. What was happening at home, with family, at school? When you were older, between 5 and 10, 5 and 12, what was happening to you? Okay. What was the pattern? Did you feel seen? Did you feel heard? Did teachers like you? Were you supported by friends then? Were you bullied then? Were you creative then? There's something toxic, though. I wouldn't say this particular narrative, for those of you that selected number 1, is definitively talking about the sun needs to set on an issue of the past that you hold, and that creates real pressure within you because you're refusing to actually see it. So instead of confronting the boulder, instead of moving around the boulder, instead of incorporating what the boulder is about, understanding the real it of it, you swing to avoid. Stop doing that. It's not helping you. It's not serving you. It's a silly human mechanism. We all do it, by the way. This is just number 1's theme for this week. So pay attention. It's important, everybody. Let's all get ourselves sane and grounded and brave and empowered and humble and at peace within, because when we get to that place, then the world will express that. As within, so without. It's your duty to make yourself grounded and sane, to rewhole yourself. It's your duty. It's your responsibility. Number 2, let's go to number 2 now. So with regards to number 2, now the first image that came through was the busting up through the ground. Okay, this particular person is busting up through the ground. Now, this is a hole in the earth. It's not like a manhole cover. This is ground here. This is a nighttime ground. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of my coffee here. So everybody, this particular person, male, female, okay? This particular person is busting up through the ground. So I mean, I haven't studied this yet. Let me finish talking about the imagery and then we'll talk about it. I haven't really thought about it yet. I mean, there's clearly a busting up and out from being very hermit-like or being very internalized or going through a deep process. This is depth here. The ground is representing inside the soil. You've been in yourself processing. And this week of the April 26th, there might be a real desire to bust up and out into the world in a way that's different from a chapter that you've been in recently. So this is the earth, it's the ground, it's not asphalt, which is organic. So there's been an organic, internalized, natural chapter of growth that's been this internalized process, but you're wanting to come up and out. The interesting thing here is that this person is coming up and out at kind of ambrosia or twilight time. Nighttime, but perhaps with a bit of glow in the sky. There are stars out here. But this is like that beautiful ambrosia, that dusk, that twilight time where there's a glow in the sky. You're coming up and out to the glow of the mystery, the beauty of the mystery, the beauty of the expansive view, right? Because as you've been going through this internalized process, you now are ready to see in a more broad way, in a long view way, in a holistic way. This is important. There's a telescope here, and it's in front of you. So you're ready to come up. You're ready to embrace the inherent magic of living systems, the inherent magic of nature, the inherent magic of life itself, and to see the broader view. You don't know everything, not even close. None of us do. People that claim knowledge are living in a dream. People that claim knowledge as if it is rooted. Anybody that does it. Take it all with a grain of salt. Take everything you hear, take everything I say, take everything anybody says. Anybody that claims to know or states things as fact, maybe, maybe not, right? Certain things that we do know, at least I can speak from my own experience, is that the one thing that I can rely on is natural systems. What we know are some of the organizing principles of living systems, of nature, of natural systems. Nature, cosmos. That's what we know. At least we know what we know about it. There's inherent infinity beyond. There's mystery within. There's more to know, in other words. But we do have some knowledge about how living systems operate, how the macro and micro operate. And so there's some new clarity that you might have, but humility, see the broader picture, understand that you don't know everything, nor will you ever in this life process. Keep in mind, you are a living process, not a product. You're not a fixed and rigid thing. So open up here. And it looks like this week you're willing to open up. It might be too that there's been a fixed, the ground can also represent Taurus, which is a fixed sign, right? So there's a fixed element here. Life seeks to root and to establish itself through fixed processes. The need for nurturance and nutrients and water and support systems, and the ground, the earth that holds it, the plant that rises here, right? You can see too that there is this kind of blossoming here. So there is you blossoming, number 2. There's a new blossoming. And you're willing to open and see the broader picture. I think that some of you that have had perhaps quite a stubborn orientation or a stubborn mindset or a stubborn way of feeling about certain things or making meaning of certain things. There's a potential here for you to break open, to break that open, to open up to you don't know. Become the student of life, become the student of yourself. Know what you know, bring your wisdom and knowledge, but, be humble with it as well. See the broader picture, see the long view. You are a very minor little dot in a very macrocosmic, huge, long story. There's a big arc of the evolutionary process. Be humble to it. My goodness, how our egos have just taken over, especially in the world today. It got activated, catalyzed, I think, a lot of it in 2020 to a new degree. And 2021, it's just getting, in my opinion, worse. So there's a lot that's becoming where egos are rampantly activated. The small self's ego. We all have ego, and ego has a function. But when it's imbalanced, it can come from a state of arrogance and narcissism and all kinds of things, entitlement, the know-it-all, and no, it's the epitome of non-wisdom. So be mindful, right? So for you, there is this aspect of breaking the stubborn, rigid thinking, thoughts, feelings, mindsets, orientations, ways of operating in your life, and being willing to see the larger view. It's a beautiful thing. And again, the twilight aspect here is really bringing a sense of the numinous nature of nature, right? Beautiful. Now, number 3, everybody, okay? If you selected number 3, caterpillar. Now, this, he has a little bit of a human face here, but yeah, the caterpillar looking right at you. Okay, so we've had that happen in other drawings that come up. There might be animals that are not looking right at you that come through in these channelings. This particular caterpillar is looking right at you, just as the fish was a couple of weeks ago. So caterpillar is the epitome of, it's the symbol of transformation. The caterpillar is transformation. It's multi-legged. It's soft. It's vulnerable. There's a vulnerability here. This particular caterpillar very clearly evoked this optimistic innocent, like an innocent, sweet friendly, sociable aspect. Now, again, I haven't looked at this yet. Now, I will tell you, this is very much a rapidly flowing stream in the background. It was very clear. The imagery, the picture, the what it was very clear. You can see it. It's drawn out, but I want to make it clear. It's a rapidly moving, flowing waterway, stream or small river, okay? It's not a big river. It's meant to be kind of a small river here or a stream. So fast moving water. It's in the background here. So caterpillar is looking at you, meaning talking to you. So this week, you're being asked to transform. You're being guided, you're being talked to. There's conversation happening with this viewpoint of caterpillar to you. Transform. So what is it that wants to transform? For you, it's going to be different things for all of you. There's an aspect of self, though, that I want to say needs to transform. Now, this particular caterpillar is on a branch of a tree. So could it be that there's something about your foundation, where you live, let's say, your home, where you live, the community that you live in, the home that you're living, the structure that you're living, um, that needs to change? Is there something about your home or the place that you live that needs to change? That's a possibility, okay? Uh, your dynamic or pattern within the family. Is there something with that needs to change? Keep in mind, you can't change another. You cannot change another. It's not your duty either to change another. Your duty, your purpose in this life is to be the truth of your wholeness, your integrated whole self, non-segmented, non-partitioned. And so the thing is, there's something about you that needs to transform that you might get clues to in your environment. In other words, if there's family members that are triggering you, what are the triggers? The trigger is a story that lives within you. It's a pattern that lives within you. So, for example, if people are ignoring you, or if people are berating you, or if people are criticizing you, how does that live within you? How do you criticize yourself? If that's it, then you need to stop doing that. That needs to be transformed. You're going to have to wake up to how you criticize self. If you're being ignored, how do you ignore parts of yourself? What parts of yourself are asking to be born that you keep denying? If people aren't listening to you, how do you not listen to yourself? How are you not listening to your inner wisdom? What are they doing, right? What are you triggered by? Look within. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. The trigger is always the activation of the inner pain body. And it's what you're doing to self. Ultimately, it's also what you're doing to them, but don't go there because that's more advanced. So for you right now, look at how you're doing that to self, okay? So something about you needs to transform. Does it have to do with family? Does it have to do with home? Okay. So what is it about the home that is resonant for you? What is it that's not resonant? Become clear about that. Something needs to transform for your evolutionary process here. And see, the thing with the rapidly running water in the background is that there's something here about life moves on. Life flows fast. In fact, anymore, exponentially so, speed, time, how we experience time. There's more information in the field, everybody. In other words, the consciousness field, the more complex it gets, the more fractaled it gets, the faster time seems to go for humans because we experience time here, you know. Time is a very interesting construct though, because it doesn't really exist. It's a construct that we have. It's a thing. It's part of how we perceive our reality. But the truth of the matter is the more information in the field, the faster time seems to go. But the thing is, life moves on here. Life evolves, life flows. Nature flows. It goes with the flow. What is it about you, your patterning, your life, that is remaining stuck and not flowing? Life is doing it. It's behind you. It's behind you. Do you need to turn around and see something? Do you need to observe that time is moving fast? Life is precious. A lot of people have died. I know of a lot of people who have died. Personally, I know of a lot of people who have died, and actually, even clientele. Okay. So I want you to understand that there's lots of people I know who have died, clients who have lost people, and even clients who I've lost. There's people who are dying now, and health conditions are getting exacerbated. It is part of the transmutation process that's happening with consciousness. So I want you to all to understand that um, you need to become aware of the preciousness of time and the preciousness of this life. And what is it that needs to transform to get you flowing again, to get you understanding and appreciating the preciousness of this particular existence? There's a positive face here. It's a very happy little face. So the innocent aspect of your higher self is only here to transform, here to evolve. In other words, to continually transform. You are here to continually transmutate, to meet your growth edge, to meet your evolutionary self, to meet your higher. What is the call? What's the pull? What's pulling you? Okay? Connect with nature. Understand the preciousness of it. The time is now, to act on certain things. It doesn't mean act mindlessly. It doesn't mean act out of fear. On the contrary, it's about acting in your joy. So what is your joy? What is your joy? You know, Going back to potentially for some of you family members, how are family members representing for you or showing you how they deny their joy? How is that an aspect of your life that is mirroring the inner aspect of self? Look at all these people I live with that ignore their joy. They work, they stress, they work, they're all about bills. I mean, think about it, everybody. That's not the purpose of life. At least it's not the optimal purpose of life. It's what humans have created. Contracts and fear-based motives, fear-based actions based on fear that gets created in the collective for what? And by the way, I'm not talking about COVID right now. Some of you might be going there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fear about all kinds of things. The general systems of our global civilization, how things function, how things operate. What we're taught to believe is the American dream in some cases. We tie ourselves into banking institutions or whatever, mortgage payments. For what? I mean, what is the truth of your joy? Are there creative solutions to manifesting your dream that has nothing to do with the traditional constructs of, how humans live and exist? Life is precious. Move into your transformation. You are an ever evolving being. Do not stay fixed in one orientation of self, one iteration of self. Stop. And this week, there's a potential for you to become aware of the preciousness of things. Now, for those of you that are watching this video and enjoy these messages, please like, subscribe, and share. Please share these, because I notice that sometimes I've been told this too, that a lot of people keep my information kind of to themselves. They don't necessarily want to share it. So, if you find these valuable, your shares to people that would appreciate them is appreciated. Okay. All right, everybody, listen, a reminder to please watch the astrologies for the week, because again, it is a potent cycle, this full moon 30-day cycle that is going to be catalyzed, activated Monday, the 26th, which is the start of this week that we're looking at here. The other thing is, for those interested in ordering your in-depth natal analysis, I invite you to look at that. You can see my services below. There's two versions of the natal analysis. One is the basic one, which is a two-part video. It's detailed, and it goes into the crux of who you are, what your patterns are, what your skill sets are, and what your growth and evolution is. Okay. But the other is much more in depth. So there's a deep dive natal version as well. So for those with the budget, I would invite you to investigate that one for yourself to see if it's a fit, because it goes much deeper and it goes into different aspects, different layers, let's say, of your stories. Okay. All right, everybody. I send you much love for a wonderful week ahead. Bye bye.